Okay, so I think we're in like what, week 10, something like that. This is week 10 lecture. We're going to learn about how to use Mocha to rotoscope things. It's going to be great. I'm going to go in here and save this project real quick. Save early and often. Okay. So, in what situations would you want to use Mocha for rotoscoping? Well, if you know how to do it, pretty much every one where you have a situation where you want to rotoscope anything, whether it's on a green screen or if it's live action or what have you. It's a pretty powerful tool for doing close rotoscoping. So in the instance of Cam's shot in green screen, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of use multiple roto shapes, and we're going to go in and we're going to rotoscope out Cam like he was standing in a live action plate, basically. So we want to get him as close to a clean rotoscope as possible. So we're going to use multiple rotoscope layers in Mocha, and then next week, because it won't work in this version of After Effects that we have, we will do the continuation of this lecture where you actually take the data from Mocha and paste it into After Effects and make use of it. Unfortunately, the version of After Effects that we currently have, and you guys all should have the same one, 15.0.0, crashes every time you try to paste your Mocha tracking data or your Mocha shape data from Mocha to After Effects. So we can't do the actual pasting part, unfortunately, tonight, but we will continue it next week and pick it up and go from there. So I would say you guys want to save your Mocha files and save this shot of Cam so that next week when we finish the lecture, we can do it with stuff right in your computers without having to worry about disseminating everything again. Go ahead, Luke.
So doesn't rotoscoping look at the colors of what?
Yeah. A lot of what we're going to cover tonight is also usable in After Effects proper. Like if you didn't want to go in and use Mocha to do this, you could apply the same principles to the track masks inside of After Effects, and it'll work pretty close to the same. Mocha's just a better tracker than After Effects is, so your roto shapes are going to work a little bit better, and you'll be able to move through rotoscopes a lot quicker than you would in After Effects. All right, so let's get started. All right, so I have Cam's shot brought in and put on its own composition. So your composition should be exactly the length of the shot. So again, if you want to do that, drag it onto this little guy right here, or just drag the footage onto the timeline and drop it, and After Effects will create a composition for you, and we can start working from there. The other thing you're going to want to do straight away is, why don't we save this, like make a folder for it, save it so that we can pick this lecture up next week and move forward with it, and you guys don't need to rebuild anything or lose any of your Mocha tracking data if you want to follow along. Okay, so I have Mocha in, or I have the shot we're going to track in. Here's kind of what we got. It's a good shot. It's you know, it is on a nice clean green screen, so it would key really nicely. But we're going to pretend that it's not on a nice green screen and it's not going to key nicely. All right, so we got the shot. You select the shot down in your timeline, and then we're going to go to animation, and we're going to say track in Mocha AE, and then Mocha should open up and we can get started. All right, if you get the registration thingy, just go ahead and hit register later. Then it's going to bring up your project window. So this is a good point to save this. I'm going to call this Roto 2 because I did a different one earlier today. And you can find whatever project folder you're working in and save it there so that you have the project saved, and click OK. Everybody's good? Everybody's with me? So you got to click on the file and then go up to animation, go down to track in Mocha AE. They do a lot of these announcement videos for like big corporate vacations. So like one of them that I worked on was for Bridgestone, the tire company, right? So Bridgestone, they have a sales force all across the United States. The people that have the most sales or whatever get to go to this big convention, and then they announce this super awesome trip that all the top sales performers get to go on. Well, all these videos are pretty much graphically driven and using photography and graphics and motion to kind of announce a vacation, right? On one of BIW's projects, they called me on a Friday and said, "Hey, we're in a jam. We're wondering if you can turn a video for us by next Friday." And I was like, maybe. How long? And when can you get me assets? And we'll have assets to you by Monday. Okay, I said, well, there's going to be a rush fee for it. I said, fine, whatever. I'd worked with these guys before. Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Rush fee.
Yeah, rush, thank you.
You worked with before.
So they said fine, whatever. And then so Monday they send me all the assets and they send me a storyboard and everything. Like, they were super prepared. They had everything ready to go. So I knew exactly what they wanted it to look like. And I said, well, it's probably going to be between like 2,000 and 3,000. And they were like, okay. So I figured I would probably put between 20, 25 hours into it during that week. So start on Monday night. I basically roughed the whole thing out in an evening. So like 4 hours into it, I got the whole thing roughed out. Send it to them, or next day, Tuesday, they call and I send them the rough. They call me and they say, all right, can we have the video finished by Wednesday night? And they said, if you can do by Wednesday night, we'll pay you an extra $1,000.
Nice.
And so I was like, all right, well, if I don't sleep, I'm sure I can get it done. And I slept just fine. It was no problem. So they gave me this project, gave me all the assets. I cranked it out in, I think, was right around like an 8 to 10 hour period, and they paid me like $3,000 for it. So I made $3,000 in 3 days. It's basically the most I've ever been paid to do After Effects work.
Right.
So if you're good and you're fast and you can prove to a company that you can get shit done on time and it'll look nice, stuff like that can happen for you. That doesn't happen every project, but the first time I worked with this company, I told them how much I charge per hour, and they were like, we usually don't charge that much. And I said, well, tell me what your budget is, and if I can't get it done within your budget, we'll revise things so that we can make this happen within your budget. Did the first one for them. They were over the moon. They were like, it's the best one we've ever done. It was great working with you. Everything was done on time. Great communication, blah, 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 all that stuff. Now they have no problem paying my full rate.
Right.
So there's the kind of kick in the ass to stick with it and like do the tedious work. Because if you're willing to sit down and put the seat time in and you're fast and efficient and do good work, companies will pay you $100+ an hour to do this stuff. So it pays for you guys to knock this stuff out, do a good job, soak up everything you possibly can, and make sure that After Effects is something that you can offer to whoever you work for, because there's money in it for sure. So that's why sit through the tedious stuff, learn how to rotoscope, because even though it sucks to rotoscope, and believe me, I know how much it sucks to rotoscope. I've been doing it for the last week straight, pretty much sitting there, doing like what Sean said, playing music, and just pounding through frames and moving little nodes around on the screen until I get where I need to get, right? But it pays off because it'll probably get us more work in the future, which is always good. So there's the reason to stick with it and learn the stuff, because you can charge a nice pretty penny for it when you're all said and done. Go ahead, David.
How, like, when you do a project, are you like really counting it like by hour, like tracking it, or is it like by just difficulty, or like you just like?
So you're all well aware that the amount of time that you can spend on any particular project is incredibly variable, right? It varies from project to project, shot to shot. All that stuff you have to kind of take into account. You really only develop a good sense of how long it's going to take you to do something once you start working in the field and executing and figuring out how long it takes you to do things. I would say that for simpler work, like spot work, spot production, commercial spot production, things like that don't need, like, say a local company that wants to do a little 60-second commercial for their website, right? It's probably like a half a day shoot and a half a day edit. At least I know I can turn something that quickly. Like, I can go shoot for 3.5, 4 hours, come home, ingest everything, and turn and edit out in 4 or 5 hours and get it all done in one day. I'd be at $12.50 for like a 60-second easy spot, right? So $1,250 in a day. That's not too bad. That's a pretty good living. I don't do that 365 days a year. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here teaching you this stuff. I'd just be out making that bank every day, right? So it doesn't happen every day. And obviously I work a regular day job and I do this teaching gig too. And I really do the teaching gig because I like to teach, not because it makes me a ton of money or anything like that. I mean, it adds, of course, everything adds up, but I just do it because I like coming out here and showing you guys how everything works. And I have enough experience in the industry in Minneapolis, St. Paul to be, dangerous for you guys. It'll put you guys in a better place when you're out of here. So that's really why I do it. I do it because I like to. Go ahead, Tyler.
This is a vague question, but how do you handle pushback from clients?
On like pricing?
Not pricing, but like creative opinions. Like they ask you to change something, and at what point do you?
I do it, but I charge for changes,
okay.
And I let them know, because I've had with BIW, I've had them, like, they're kind of the middleman, right?
Yeah.
So like BIW gets hired out by a big company like a Bridgestone or a Delta Airlines or anything like that, and they say, all right, we want you to make us a video. And they give you a deadline and they give you a budget and all this stuff. So BIW is the middleman between the huge company and me. And so I did have a project with BIW where I knocked the project out in like 8 hours, send it to them. They send it off to the client. Client goes, oh, we want all these changes. And you just say, okay, all right. And you just keep tacking hours onto the bill and you keep telling your clients where you're at, right? So I give BIW feedback in terms of how many hours it takes me to get to a certain place. If it's like setting up a detailed rough, it's usually like 4 hours, like pretty much the minimum for anything that I do for BIW. Even if it's a simple, like if it was a 30-second animation, it would be 4 hours just to get it in, get it all set up, get all the assets in place, organized, and get something on the timeline ready to show the client. Like, this is generally what it's going to look like, right? 4 hours. For a 15, a 30, a 60, a 2-minute, it doesn't matter. You can pretty much get something on the timeline in 4 hours. Go ahead, Sean.
Biggest thing that I think that I've learned is try to, especially for After Effects stuff, you're making graphics, any of that stuff, make them easy to change for, like, if they need changes, make them easily updatable. So it's not like a whole, like I have to go back a couple steps. So like, if they want something redone, you have to just type it in, and it's not like I have to export stuff.
Right. That's always a good way to approach your work, which is one of the reasons why I tell you guys, make your shit organized, label your layers, label your compositions, so that everything's not just like comp 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 40, 100, and you don't know where anything is. Like, oh, where's the layer of the face wounds? Oh, I don't think it's comp 20 or something like that. Like, you like, it needs to be instantly readable. If you can look at it, read it, and go, okay, I know where everything is, then you can hand it off to another artist. They can take over your work and keep kicking stuff down the line, right? I had to do that quite a bit when I worked at Care, because we'd have projects where 40 other stations were going to have to take my After Effects project and be able to go in and make changes to it so that their station could put the stuff on the air. And you can't make it so crazy complex that you're the only one that can do it. Like, I wouldn't want to change one spot 40 times for 40 different stations because I'm the only guy who knows how to frickin' do it. That sucks. So you kind of have to build in that ease of use, and you'll get better at that kind of stuff as you work more within After Effects. You'll learn how to kind of compartmentalize things so that when you hand it off to somebody, they can look at your work and go, oh, I only need to go into this one layer to make this change, update the video, and now it's done. Which is why, you know, when I talk about like everything rolls kind of up the comp chain to the top, like being able to set things up so that it's easy to vary them or change them very quickly is great when you need to hand stuff off to other people or different clients or different artists. If you're working within a house or something like that where you're doing visual effects work, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to pick up on your work and move forward. So in terms of how do you handle client pushback, if people want changes, I give them changes, but they have to understand that they're going to be billed for changes. It's just the way it is. Like, I'm not going to work for free. Like, I don't spend my extra time when I could be hanging out with my friends or spending time with my wife or going to see a movie or whatever it is. I don't give that time away for nothing. Like, I'm not going to do work for free for a client if I can help it, ever.
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Frequently, are you like communicating and to your clients? Are they ever like to like over your shoulder, like, or think if you added a bunch of like track points or we're masking it took a really long time, so we're frame by frame, and they're looking to see the updates, and they're like, well, this took you this long, and there's no real difference because you're just like we're masking or something. Have you dealt with that? Or I haven't
really had a client, like, I haven't done visual effects work for a client before, and honestly, I would probably stay away from it. Just because directors are super freaking finicky and they're going to have a million things that they want to change, and it takes forever to change stuff. Most of the client work that I do in After Effects is stuff like the BIW work, which is honestly dirt simple. It's freaking photos and a little bit of 3D work, maybe a little camera work, no rotoscoping, no motion tracking, nothing like that. If there is something like that, it's because I go, oh, hey, this might be a good opportunity to add a little motion tracking to the shot and make it a little more interesting, right? Something that I know I can execute quickly and will add just a little extra sparkle to it for the client. Like, that's the stuff where you want to spend that little bit of extra time. Like, if you can spend 10 extra minutes on something and make it look like it costs more money, well, then it's worth every second you spend on it. But in terms of like getting down to nitty gritty where it's something where like very little changes but you spend a bunch of hours on it, I try not to do that for a client. And honestly, David, most clients are, I don't want to say dumb, but they just don't have the savvy like us video people and graphics people do to look at something and really be able to break it down and go, oh, it shouldn't have taken that long. You know, they just don't know.
Yeah, that'd be my concern. People not realizing how long something took.
And that would be in your negotiations when you're talking about like executing certain things. You want to say like if these are the things that you want to say, like how what actually goes out to like making that like certain effect or something. If that's what you're going for.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so this is something that I've heard happens a lot in the freelance community, mainly with graphic design. Has a client ever tried to finagle you out of paying?
No.
Okay.
No. I've never had a client try to finagle me out of paying.
Do you watermark your work so they don't?
No.
Okay.
No, you're not.
I mean, generally, here's how I do it, right? If I'm going to give a client a video, I don't give them a video that they can run with, right?
Right.
Like, you can do some things on your own end to kind of make sure they're going to pay you for your work. Like, you could give them standard def renders so that they can't play a high def render and take it to their trade show and run with it and not pay you. But I really haven't had any clients that have just totally hosed me. Sorry guys, I got some family drama going on. Yeah, so that's not something I've really dealt with. I have had occasions where like I start work with a client and then like I'll just give you a for instance. So I did a gig for Diana Pierce, right? She was on Care 11 for like 30 years as an anchor, and now she's doing her own thing, and I did some graphics for her, and Sean and I worked on some video stuff for her. Well, the producer that she was working with basically ghosted me. Like stopped talking to me completely for what I can only I don't even know. I don't know why. So we do the shoot, we cut all these videos together, we're moving back and forth, talking with the producer and Diana, and getting work done, handling changes, doing all the stuff that they're asking us to do, and then she just stops talking to me. Like, we were basically finished, and she stops talking to me. So, I do what everybody does. I shoot her a text and say, hey, I sent you an email, the link's in there, let me know if you want any more changes. Right? All right. Don't hear anything back from her in a couple days. All right, send another email. Hey, here's another email. I don't know if the last one went through. Here's a link to the video. Let me know if you need any more changes. Another week goes by. Don't hear anything. Text her again. Email her again. Don't hear anything from her. Completely gone. In this particular instance, there was hours that were spent for editing that didn't get paid for. So here I've got this producer that's kind of my middleman between me and Diana Pierce, and she's not responding to me at all. Now, in this instance, this has kind of got a happy ending because this happened in 2016. All of 2017 goes by, and then I'm kind of going through my stuff and cleaning things up, and I see this video I saw Diana Pierce post one of the photos that we took on the shoot on her social media. And I was like, wait, so now she's posting this stuff on social media? What's going on? And so I just reached out to Diana Pierce and I was like, hey, I wanted to touch base with you. I don't know what happened to Tacey. We were going back and forth. We were almost done with this video. I just want to pick your brain and find out what happened. Well, she called me like a couple minutes later and she's like, I don't know what happened either. She's like, Tacey just stopped working with me. No rhyme or reason or why or whatever. Just stopped. And maybe, I think what happened is she got another project that was more lucrative and she just dropped this one and left it. And then I did a little digging and called some of my other contacts here in town and talked to some people that have worked with this other producer before. And it just so happens that one of the other guys that I've worked with her, and she did the same thing to him on a $50,000 video. So this stuff happens where people will just like ghost your ass and you'll be like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you not returning my calls? Some people are just dicks, man. Like, that's the way it is.
Like, I don't want to get political in this class, but our president has been known to hire architects and then not pay them a single
regardless
penny.
of that, but along those lines, couldn't you or the other guy have prosecuted?
I mean, what she owed me wasn't worth my time to go.
Okay, but $50,000.
50 grand is different. I mean, here's the thing. She left the project. He still got paid, but she stopped communicating with him on the project, right? I know he still got paid and all this other stuff, but that project was a nightmare, and it pretty much had to do with this producer just not sticking with it and doing her job. Go ahead, Luke.
You said there was a happy ending there.
Oh yeah, so happy ending. I called Diana Pierce up. She says, I'm really sorry. Tacey ghosted me too. Send me a bill for what I owe you. And she paid me in like 2 days. And this was for work that was like a year ago. And since then, I've actually finished the video for her, done all the graphics work for her, and turned the video in, and she's paid me yet again. So sometimes it pays to just skip the middleman and go right to the source. So if somebody stops talking to you, if you're out working on a gig and somebody stops talking to you, just go right to the source. Bypass the middleman. Most likely, the source is going to want their stuff that they paid for, right? Like, you made a video for them. They should get their video if they've been paying for it. And Di paid us for the shoot. She paid us for the first round of edits. And then that's where the ghosting happened. We did a bunch of changes and things like that and didn't get paid for them. And so then when I saw her posting on social media, I was like, all right, well, I want to get paid. So I'm going to call her up and find out what happens. And Diana's just an awesome lady. Like, she was really apologetic, and she told me, Tacey stopped talking to her, and it was just this big thing where it's like, okay, well, now I know I'll never work with this freaking producer ever again because...
So the producer just took the money and ran.
No, the producer didn't take the money and run. The producer just stopped doing her job and talking to me and being a producer. She just moved on to something else and never said why or never said...
Here's the changes we're going to make. We're going to... Okay, I guess I'm done then.
Yep. Yep, she just stopped working on the project.
So do you not do contracts?
I really don't. If it was for a bigger thing, then I absolutely would. Like if it was for a 5-figure video, if I was getting paid like 10 grand for something, probably a good idea to write some stuff down, give them a proposal, have them sign their name to it, and make sure that they understand that they're going to be on the hook for this amount of money for the project. And then if anything goes out of scope, we revisit the budget, right? I've had to do that for one video. It was like I think it was going to be like a $10,000 or $15,000 video, and I just wanted to make sure that they knew exactly where the money was going, right? So the way I laid that out was like, here's how many shoot days, here's the people that we're paying, they're going to be here to shoot for these 2 days, please make the most use of it, make sure that things are organized, and then here's what it's going to probably be for edit, here's what it's probably going to be for color and graphics and sound, and here's a proposal, send them the proposal. If they have any qualms, they can say, I don't know about this part or the other thing, let's revise that a little bit. And you can kind of work it until it's in a place where you like it, have them sign it, give it to you, and then you have some documentation. But most of the stuff that I deal with is either clients that I've worked with before or jobs that aren't so big that they would just completely break me if I didn't get paid, right? And most companies are going to pay you for the work you do. And if they don't, I mean, here's the other thing. You got a million emails. You got all the files on your computer. You pretty much have all the proof you need to take them to court without a contract. Like, I have emails from those producers and Diana Pierce basically for every part of the project, along with invoices and that stuff. So if I needed to go and litigate, go to small claims for it, I could, and I could totally prove my case. So contracts, if you have something that's going to cost more than 10 grand, probably a good idea, right? Or maybe even 5. I mean, 5 grand's a lot of money, so you want to make sure you're going to get it. And it's just good so that everybody understands what exactly they're paying for, right? Here's how much it costs a day to shoot it. Here's who's going to be working on it. Here's how the post-production is going to go. Here's what the timeline looks like, you know, and then just making sure you can deliver. So somebody said something about like, we were talking about visual effects and all that good stuff. So my company right now is in a huge debacle because of this visual effects issue that we've had on our Elijah project. It ended up being a lot more hours than anybody expected, including the visual effects supervisor. So we've kind of gotten hosed, which sucks. So it does happen. I would tell you guys that if you get out there in the world and you work on visual effects stuff, bill hourly. Anybody who wants to bill you a flat rate, don't bother working with them. They're going to want to bill you a flat rate, so you're probably going to turn people away. If somebody offers me a flat rate, I make sure I have a really, really good understanding of exactly what I'm needed to do, and I make sure that I know I can deliver for what would be my hourly for that flat rate. Because I know that if I start going over, that's when it starts burning me, right? And I mean, I'm willing to go above and beyond when it comes down to it. Like if I really want a client and I say I can do it for this in this many hours for this budget, but it takes me a little bit longer and I lose a little bit of hourly, not the end of the world. But anything that would cut into that by like 50%, I would be like, not happening. So just really it pays to know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, because you don't want to bite into a video and then realize I'm in way over my head and I'm not going to be able to get this done for the budget that they gave me. Because then you end up getting burned, and that sucks. And it happens a lot.
That's another thing, is trying to understand what you can do with certain budgets. Like some things you just can't execute with a small budget, so you're going to have to, then you're going to scale that style and size of shoot. Can't do, like, if it's a small budget thing, can't do, like, more lighting, you gotta run and gun it.
Yep. Sean and I are masters of that shit. And you pretty much have to be. I mean, when you're working with tiny little budgets, you and the client both need to understand, here's what you get for your money. Like if it's $1,000 30-second spot, all right, you get 3.5 hours of shoot time and 4 hours of edit time, and that's it.
I love a big budget.
That is it. And you got to try to stick to it. I mean, obviously you want to make it the best that you can in that 8-hour period, but spending 2 days on something you only get paid $1,000 for, I mean, it sounds great right now when you're in school and you don't have a job that pays, right? But when you're working for a company or you're working for yourself and you're spending your time and your money and your gear and you're driving and doing all this stuff, you need to make that daily, baby. Don't let people take you for it, because they will frickin' try. Believe you me, they will. Don't let them. You just tell them exactly how it is. The price is the price. I've heard this a million times before from other companies that are like, you tell people how much it costs. If they balk, just don't work with them. More work will come along. If your shit's good, people will hire you. Period. So just be tough. Just tell them, it's like, look, I've invested all this time and money over the course of my career in all the gear and all the stuff that I own, and this is how much I'm worth. And if they don't believe you, fine. They can find somebody else that can do it for their minuscule budget. Right? Don't let people take you on a ride. Like, get what you're worth, because you're worth it. Rant concluded. No, I think conversations like that are good to have, because you guys want to get into this business. Like, ideally, this is what I would suggest you do. Find a job at a real place of work, at like a creative agency or a news station or whatever it happens to be. Find something that you can work 40 hours a week, maybe a little more, maybe a little less if you're salaried. Make a decent salary and cut your teeth and get good underneath a company that's got people that can mentor you as you move forward in your careers, right? That's exactly what Care 11 was for me. I came in and worked under a guy who'd won tons of awards and was a great promo producer, and I learned so frickin' much in 3 years at that job. I might as well have just done that for school. And I didn't even really become super good at After Effects until I did that job, because he was pushing all the time to get me to the next level. Like, what can we do? How can we go above and beyond? Like, he was always asking those questions, and to the point where it got like tedious. Where it's like, all right, you're being a little over the top here. Can we take it down just a notch so we can actually get things done? And that's where people like Janine come in. Janine is a phenomenal producer. Like, she knows what her people are capable of. She knows how much it costs, how much time it should take, and she's not overly critical to the point where you just want to pop yourself in the dome because you have to change things a million times or you can't get it right because you're working for a ball buster. No, she is like, she knows that the stuff needs to be good, but she's not going to like make you take a week on something that should only take 2 days. So everybody's different. Every house is different. When you get out of this place and you guys start looking for jobs, there's not going to be a lot out there that is high paying for somebody right out of school unless you have a super solid reel, right? Really what you're going to learn the most is you're going to learn about writing, right? Writing something that I didn't know shit about until I started working at Care. I didn't know how to write a commercial. I was like, what? I don't know how to write a commercial. You kidding me? So there was a lot of back and forth between me and my boss just on the writing phase. So I learned how to write in 3 years. Like, write a good spot. All right, I can do that with my eyes closed now. It didn't used to be the case. Like, my first year at Care, I was like freaked out anytime I had to write a script. It's like, shit, I gotta go write? This sucks. And then I go out and just reference and research and try to do the best job I can and bring it to the boss man, say this is what I got, and then he would help me get it where it needs to be. And that's the kind of people you want to work under, people that are going to help bring you to the next level. Good talk. All right. So we'll finish this lecture up here and then take a break, and then you guys can have work time. There, you got a free lecture about what to expect when you get out into the work world. All right, so let's conclude this lecture. So this is pretty much par for the course in terms of what you're going to see when you try to do a roto like this. So if we were going to continue and take this further, what we'd do is we'd go in and we'd chunk out these sections of Cam's shot. We'd probably do the shoulder and the torso and kind of work just piece by piece until we got a really solid roto over the entire image. The hair is going to be an issue, right? You're not going to go in and roto around every single little tiny strand of hair. You're just not, right? You could probably pull a decent enough key to make the hair work, even if the footage was garbage, which it's not, fortunately. We already did the hand thing last week with the motion tracking. It's pretty much the same thing for the rotoscope, except depending on how much he moves his hand around, you might want to go in and break it up. Palm, finger, 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 and just do them individually so you can get a really accurate and consistent roto across the whole hand and make it work for the whole piece. So you just kind of break things down into small pieces and keep working through it until you got the whole thing built out. go ahead and save this, and next week we'll go over how to actually take the data that we've created and apply it to the shot in After Effects. Unfortunately, it won't work right now. If we tried to make it work, it'll just crash the program and we won't be able to get back into the program. So roll with it. Next week we'll have an updated version of After Effects and we can go through this stuff. All right, that concludes the lecture.